there's so many people who kind of have touted themselves as parenting experts. Being a parent, that's just a relationship. You can't be like, I'm so good at this and qualified at this. Every family, every child is so nuanced and different and special, and there's not going to be a rinse, repeat, copy, paste like model to follow. We can't solve their problems for them. The idea is to allow them to make the mistakes, sit in the shit sometimes, go through some struggle. It's the only way you feel growth. And with growth is, all this other opportunity.
Welcome to Cake for Dinner. This is not your everyday mom podcast. We laugh, we curse, we tell the truth, and we're here to ditch the perfection culture. Today, I'm joined by Kanika Chadha Gupta. She's a journalist, mom of 3, who hosts the #1 parenting podcast, that's Total Mom Sense, a former CNN anchor who spotlights powerful stories from thought leaders on their life lessons and legacy. Kanika, welcome to Cake for Dinner.
Thank you so much, Keisha. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy you're here. So let's just jump right into it. You went from CNN to motherhood and podcasting. How did that shift? First of all, how did that shift go? And how did it change kind of your view of success?
Yes, absolutely. So I'll take it back to when I was a young girl. I had immigrated to the States from India when I was 2 with my parents. And I think one thing that we always had on TV was the news. So I grew up watching Peter Jennings, Katie Couric, Connie Chung, and of course, Oprah after school at 4.
Yes.
It was like our religion.
Yeah.
And I just loved how she had this beautiful way of not just interviewing her guests, but putting them at ease and finding a way to just level the emotions that we all feel as humanity. And I thought, wow, is that a career path? I want to do that.
Yeah.
And so I went into broadcast journalism. I earned my master's, and it took me all the way to India, where I worked for CNN. I am bilingual. I can read and write Hindi. And my mentors at NBC said, don't bother with the small markets in the US. Go international. It'll actually be a great springboard for you and to cover global news. So I did that, and I was there for a few years, and I covered everything from the 26/11 terror attacks to Slumdog Millionaire's sweeping wins at the award shows, Oscars, BAFTAs, Golden Globes. And I had a show called E! Tonight, so it was all entertainment. Then I moved back to the States, got married, had 3 kids. There's a journey there. Had an ectopic and a pregnancy in between. But
So did I.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I feel you.
So did I
feel
and I
you.
have twins.
And you have twins, and you have boy-girl twins.
Yeah.
It's the exact same. So then I had the twins a year after the ectopic happened. And then our pleasant surprise, our third, when we weren't even trying a year after that. And I like to say that I made the shift from breaking news to breastfeeding. But it was very intentional. And I like that I'm podcasting now because it's this sweet spot of everything that I learned on the job in the newsroom and motherhood. And I lead with 3 things. One is being prepared. My daughter actually gave me the best compliment when she was like 6, because I had snacks and like color pencils and like a water wow and stuff. And she looked at me and she was like, "Mama, you're so prepared." And even when you're out on the field reporting, you need to know all the facts before you get out there. So prepared. 2 is to be curious. I like to see myself through the lens that our kids have of the world. They're always asking why. They're always asking questions. So I do the same thing in my podcast and in my role as a parent. And then the last is accountability. I think it's so important for us to be objective. I know that the news world has changed so much these days, and which networks or even individuals are right leaning, left leaning. I like to be steadfast and right in the middle. Because there's always three sides to a story: one side, the other side, and the truth.
Yes.
So we need to stay accountable in being truth tellers.
Yes. I love
And
that.
so that is another thing that I do with the podcast. And then again, in my role as a mom, and I'm glad I learned all of that and had that foundation from broadcast news.
I love that how much sense the transition makes, working for CNN and then working as a podcast host. I mean, it really does make sense because you're still delivering the truth.
Yes.
In a bit of a different format, but focused on something that you're passionate about.
Exactly.
Yeah, I really love that. I would say out of the three things, the thing I struggled with most coming into this, being a podcast host myself, is being prepared because I've been winging life.
Yeah.
Always.
Yes.
In my first few podcast interviews, I was kind of doing that and thinking, oh, this is just a conversation. It's much harder than people think.
Absolutely.
Like interviewing itself is an art.
Yes.
And then I have found that being prepared leads to a much richer conversation. So I've sort of taken on that recently, but I love those three things.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And I love that we have so much in common from the podcasting to our family dynamic, with our three kids. And I couldn't agree with you. Let me say that again. Sorry. I couldn't agree with you more that, there is an art to the interview. And in fact, I'm working on a course on exactly that. It's called In Moderation. And it's about how to moderate better, because showing up prepared, reading that guest's book, or understanding how they interact when they're being interviewed, on a daily or for a TV segment or on a podcast, you get to know their quirks and what makes them laugh and what makes them light up and what makes them tick. And then if you have all of that recon before you go into it, you feel like, okay, I already know you.
Yeah. And it just flows better, I think, when you have a little more, information under your belt.
Yep.
Yeah. So you talk a lot about mom sense. How do parents learn to trust their intuition in a world full of advice?
That's a great question.
Because there is so much unsolicited advice these days.
So much. And I do have to say that, there's so many people who kind of have touted themselves as parenting experts. But being a parent, that's just a relationship. You can't be like, I'm so good at this and qualified at this. Every family, every child is so nuanced and different and special, and there's not going to be a rinse, repeat, copy, paste model to follow. So I think that's important, and that's where I want to highlight that this superpower we have, our intuition, our mom sense and dad sense, goes into overdrive when you become a parent.
Yeah.
We always have this. You don't have to be one to know that you have this inner knowing. But I think I realized it when I saw my kids looking back at me and kind of turning to me on what next, And I was like, wow, I actually know exactly what to do here. Right. And I think we all have those moments where it's like, okay, everyone's kind of poo-pooing when this one is sick, and you're like, no, it's a bigger problem. I just know. Lean into that blind trust, because that's the mom sense right there.
I think too, it's a little bit hard-earned, the ability to trust the mom sense. I can remember when my kids were younger, not trusting it as much. I remember my daughter, she has dyslexia, and they wanted to hold her back.
Okay.
I have twins.
Yeah.
And I just like battled it to the death, you know.
So glad you did.
And in the end, I gave in. I write this in my book because it's I don't have a lot of regrets in life. I really don't. Like all of my bumps, you know, they get you where you need to be.
Right.
That's one of my real regrets, having twins. And I really folded in the face of experts, right? But what I've learned over time is that I might not be an expert in dyslexia or whatever the diagnosis is, but I'm an expert in her.
Yes.
And I, you know, that took me some time. And in my opinion, I made the wrong choice. And then, you know, that had its upside too. But it really is a hard-earned thing, I think, to lean into your intuition and trust your mom sense.
Yes. And it definitely develops over time because, you know, we're kind of hardwired to second guess ourselves, be a little self-deprecating, or say like, maybe this person knows better. You know, they've authored this many books, or like there are times where I would just want to relegate to whatever my mom-in-law said, or, you know, a nanny we had in the early days, and be like, I guess they probably know what's what better than I do. But lo and behold, whenever I went against it, I, you know, had this eureka moment that like, no, I knew what to do.
Yes. And now there's, you know, I don't even know that now, maybe always, but there's all these different parenting philosophies.
Yes.
And it's like they don't all apply to every single kid. I actually have a chapter in my book called Parenting Techniques Gone Wild. And I can remember my kids were little. I'll just give one example, but I don't know if you remember that there was a book called 1, 2, 3 Magic.
Okay.
And, you know, with twins, you'll know that my twins are very different.
Yes.
And so the concept, it was very basic. It was like you said 1, you said 2, and by 3, they were supposed to do something magical.
Right.
Which was to listen, basically.
Yes.
You know, by the time I got to 2, my son was like standing straight, you know, I mean, full attention.
Yeah.
My daughter would bow up like we were going to fight in the parking lot. You know what I mean? And I learned very quickly that there wasn't going to be one particular technique or philosophy that was going to apply to these two very different people that would work.
Exactly.
And I think that is the unique experience that you have as a parent of multiples.
Right.
Because you're parenting them in pretty much the same environment. I mean, my kids took a bath at the same time. They had the same teacher, everything. And they couldn't have had different life experiences.
Yeah.
So that's, again, where you are the expert in your kid.
Exactly. In fact, I love how you brought this up. There was an interview with someone that I did years ago where she could analyze personality types of kids. So almost like a Myers-Briggs assessment. And she said you could pretty much categorize your kids into rule followers or challengers. I was like, oh my God, that's so accurate. Yes.
Yeah, and I have one of each.
Yes, same. I have 2 challengers and a rule follower.
So do I. Yeah, that's crazy.
And you when you like have that top of mind, you're like, oh yeah, this is, you know, how they're hardwired, and we
each thing really requires a different perspective, a different approach, because if your goal is to sort of, I always kind of feel like my job is to like see the deficiencies and sort of help them manage those, see the attributes and highlight those and kind of remind them who they are. And if that's the goal, you're going to be approaching the 2 different personalities very differently.
Exactly.
You know, I'm constantly in my son's room telling him, don't worry, everything doesn't have to be perfect, just let your hair down. And then in my daughter's room, I was like, you're going to feel better if you button that shit up. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's
Put
like,
your stuff away.
Like totally different. So I think that's where parenting approaches and techniques that are hardwired in one perspective fail a little bit. Or fall short at the very least.
Exactly. You have to glean from everything.
Yes.
And then in the end, go with that intuition of yours.
Yeah. But all that's hard earned, right? It's
yes.
And bumpy. And I think that's part of what this podcast is, you know, for moms to realize that you're not doing any of it wrong. we're learning along the way, because I did use 1, 2, 3 magic, by the way,
Right.
Unsuccessfully for at least a year, So I think even the idea that, we're getting it wrong is something that just needs to be squashed, because then
Yeah.
you parent from that place.
Exactly. It's so true.
which doesn't serve anyone.
Yeah.
So what's one parenting belief you've had to unlearn since becoming a mom?
Relinquish control.
That's a hard one.
Yes, just let go. I think letting go is something that we have to kind of learn through many different chapters in life and seasons and circumstances. But I am so type A. I am such a perfectionist. In fact, I feel like you'll appreciate this. I have some level of OCD, and I'm doing my own CBT to treat that, because there was a point in time where I could not leave home without any of the beds made Pottery Barn style, fluffed pillow, karate chop in the middle. Like that's.
I wish I had a tiny bit of. I'll just step over the shit and walk out.
Yeah. No, I need to scan the room. Everything's perfect. Moving on to the next.
Yes.
And same goes for the kitchen, for everything. So I really take pride in being thorough and a perfectionist, but then it can be to my detriment too. And I can't inflict any of this shit on my kids. I want them to have the executive functioning, do things on their own, do things well, be focused and mindful, but again, not to a fault. So that's what I'm learning. And I think because I've been exposed to so many different conversations and people, I realize, as we call Gen Z, the snowflake generation, they're so fragile. They take everything to heart.
Well, that's, don't you think, a result of some of our parenting?
Exactly. So it's like, I can't do that. I cannot do that.
I don't want to unwind my little snowflake at home.
There you go.
It's too much.
Yes. So if we have any kind of anxiety that's bubbling up in us, we have to make sure that we're not even passively, passing that down, or unintentionally. So I'm super mindful about that, and that's something that I've had to kind of unlearn.
Where do you think this whole snowflake thing comes from? What do you think is truly at the root of it? And do you think we're sort of swinging the other way?
Absolutely. I think the pendulum has swung completely the other way.
So it swung from FAFO parenting to gentle parenting, which creates the snowflake.
Exactly.
And then now, like a pendulum, we're all hoping it sort of lands in the middle.
Exactly. Yes. I think you have to really take stock of when we are doing too much, protecting too much, and creating this padded environment for them. I grew up with immigrant parents who really did leave me on my own. It was me and my younger sister, who's 7 years younger, and I was very parentified as a young girl, because I remember I could test the bottle on my wrist and knew, okay, I'm going to feed her. I changed her diapers. I taught her to read. I was just a young teacher and caregiver. And when, I was older, I remember with my dance recitals and any kind of sports game or whatever that I had. I played tennis and track. My parents didn't come to anything. They did come to my recitals. Let me take that back. I don't want to discredit them, but I feel like a lot of stuff I had to figure out on my own. I have to get a ride with so and so, and they were busy. They worked multiple jobs, and I was a latchkey kid for a portion of time, so I was out on my own. And now when I look at the stands for every practice and every game, the parents are basically in the court or on the field with their kid. Johnny, you could have made that. Billy, get over here, first base.
Yes.
And they're just in it. And I feel like that is a little too much cuddling. you know, in my opinion, you know, my
And
humble
that's
opinion.
for sports. I mean, it goes across the board.
Exactly.
I mean, at 15, I played for this USA All-Star basketball team. It was just formed from kids in Florida, but I literally flew to Russia when I was 15 years old. And by the way, I made the team, came home, told my parents, and they were like, well, we can't afford it.
Yeah.
So I had to stand out on the street with a bucket and my USA basketball uniform and collect money until I got enough for the plane ticket.
What?
And it was just like what I did. My brother stood out there with me sometimes, whatever. I made enough money. And then I flew to Russia. My parents had never met anybody on the team, by the way.
Oh my goodness.
And it was just like
doing
it
the
was
solo.
just like fine.
Yeah.
It was, you know, a team, and there was adults obviously that went, but like I'm trying to picture me sending my 15-year-old to Russia.
Right.
Like, it's so wild. But it was amazing for me.
Yes.
I was, you know, like there were so many examples. And I don't think it was just like your parents and my parents. I think it was the culture of parenting.
Right, right. We just had more autonomy. That makes me think of a story. When I used to compete in pageants. I'm a trained Indian classical dancer, and again, love talking. So for the interview sections, I would be like, "Hand me the mic, let's go, ladies and gentlemen. Here's my answer." And there was a pageant that I was crowned Miss India East Coast. My parents couldn't come. We were in Maryland. It was in San Francisco, and they were like, "We can't make it. You know, you're on your own." And so I had a roommate and not one person in the crowd, but you know, when they announced the top 5 and top 3, like all like the audience members were cheering for me, and I won them over, you know, through my charm on stage, and I felt like this is amazing because it wasn't, you know, I by default will have my family cheering for me. I had to do this and achieve this on my own, and there was something really rewarding in that too. You know, I'm not saying to abandon and never be there, but let your kids fly and do their own thing.
Kids to lean on other people and to form relationships with other people.
Exactly.
So you feel hopeful that we're moving towards the middle?
Yes, I think we need to catch yourself when you find yourself doing a little bit too much. Yeah, like
it's also hard even with technology though.
Yes,
it's like
exactly.
It's hard to not know this shit. I mean, my twins are 19, and I'm like, I don't want to look at Life 360 anymore.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like they're 19 years old, but then it's like there on your phone. You wonder, are they speeding? Where are they at 3 in the morning?
Right.
So it's.
I mean, you can have them
tough.
tagged and know exactly where their, you know, location is. Yeah, no, I think I mean, that's all fine. I'm definitely going to be snooping on my kids.
That's
like,
fine.
Yeah, your phone is my phone.
Yeah.
You know? Until you're living in your own house and are paying rent and can afford, you know, the bills on your own. Then it's a free for all. We all get it. No, I think.
So you think more emotional rescuing is the problem?
Yes. We can't solve their problems for them. The idea is to allow them to make the mistakes. Sit in the shit sometimes. Go through some struggle. It's the only way you feel growth.
Right.
And with growth is, you know, all this other opportunity. Nelson Mandela says a quote that I love. He says, "I either win or I learn." And that's life, you know?
And we sort of rob them of the opportunity to learn by everybody's a winner. My dad hates
8th place
that.
medals.
My dad always says, why is everybody getting a trophy?
Yeah.
Like any like sporting event, you know, at baseball, they'll give everybody a little thing. And my dad is just like so annoyed by that.
Yeah.
But I do agree.
I agree too. Gary Vaynerchuk talks about this.
Yeah.
And he says like no 8th place medals, and I'm so on board with that because, you know, there took a level of like effort, grit for the person who won first place to get it. Not everybody's going to win in life, and you have to feel that sometimes. And maybe that's what it's going to take to motivate you to do better next time, and also be a good, you know, sportsmanship. Like, that was awesome. They deserved it, you know?
They're practicing
be gracious.
on the weekends.
Yes, exactly. You shouldn't win everything. You shouldn't get like.
Sometimes I wonder how we got in this pickle, because it's like I talk to women like you. We're like-minded.
Yeah.
We but yet when we parent our own kids, I can only speak for myself, but even though I know all this stuff, I am actually a certified parenting
Yeah.
coach.
Okay. Nice. Okay. Yes.
But
and
yet,
I mean, you have that wealth of knowledge in your arsenal. That's amazing.
right. And I can tell you very well how to parent your kid. But when
Yeah.
it comes to my house, I've struggled in those areas. So
Yeah.
it's like, I think it boils down to having a hard time watching your kids struggle.
Yes.
And I don't think our parents were eyes on us the same. So I was struggling in 7th, 8th grade like crazy. My parents were at work.
Yeah.
You know
yeah,
what I
they
mean?
had no clue.
I
yeah.
came home at night, struggled in my bedroom, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah,
And they
that's
were
true.
in their bedroom, you
Mhm.
know? So it's like when my kids are struggling, A, they tell me.
Right.
B,
right.
they're
That's a huge one.
B, I'm, driving them everywhere. I know everything, so it's like, I think it's like letting go of that, right?
Yes.
And knowing they are struggling and maybe letting them know, hey, I see you're struggling.
Yes.
Let me know if you need anything.
100%.
Yes. So that's
and this
the
is where
middle.
we make it back to the middle ground.
Yes.
Because we didn't have this open door policy. My parents didn't communicate with me openly. We didn't
Right.
have like round table talk at
No.
the dinner table. And definitely not about the heavy stuff like sex or drugs. It just,
no, definitely not.
it was taboo and like just literally not spoken of.
Which is so wild because you're just out there learning on your own.
Exactly.
Like,
exactly. From your
what a
dumbass
terrible
peers
strategy.
sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, like I learned more at the 6th grade lunch table than
Right.
anything else.
It's true. It's true.
After interviewing so many public figures, what's one thing they all struggle with as parents? Because I think like there's this idea that, certain women have it together.
Yeah.
But the more I interview people, we're just all out there doing our best.
Totally.
Like
Totally.
what's one thing that you kind of see that everyone has in common?
Yes. Guilt.
Yes.
Yeah. Everyone
Shit,
feels,
that's a big one.
feels like they're not enough. And Oprah actually mentioned this when, in a commencement speech, that she said, after I would conduct all these interviews, it didn't matter who it was with, it could have been President Obama or Beyonce or anyone. And they would always ask like, did I do okay? So it's also this feeling of, am I enough? Was that
Yes.
enough? Like, did you get what you need? And I think we do that at work, as parents, as like in literally every role we play, like, we're good, right? I was good, right? So it's also that like kind of notion that, am I worthy?
Yeah.
So I think those are the
to that. I say in my first chapter is called baggage claim. It's like you don't show up to this parenting party empty-handed, right?
Right.
Like you don't just come here like here to parent.
Yes,
you bring
exactly.
all your shit, which some
Totally.
of it's good, grit,
Yes.
hustle, but some of it's not. If you're
Yeah.
feeling inadequate in yourself and your being in your life, you're going to naturally show up feeling
Yes.
inadequate as a parent.
Yes. Yes,
So it's
yes.
like my whole thing is like you have to be brave enough to take a peek under the hood.
Yes. It's so important to be introspective. Like
Yes.
I kind of call myself out all the time, even to my kids.
Me
Like,
too.
And that way it just humanizes it. There's times where let's say if they just like, spilled milk all over the floor when they were pouring their cereal. Like my knee-jerk reaction, which happens all the time, is like, oh my God, why'd you do that?
Yeah.
Or like, what's wrong with you?
Mm-hmm.
And I heard what's wrong with you so much, that was my own narrative and childhood trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have to like recalibrate, and it's all about the repair. I'm sure, as a
Yeah.
coach, this. It's the rupture and the repair.
Mhm.
Dr. Becky talks about this too,
Yeah.
which I love. And it's like, you know what? Let's try that again. The reason why I got worked up is because I need everything perfect and clean and nothing on the floor. Secondly, it's me reacting,
Mm-hmm.
and I got yelled at a lot, so I'm yelling,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to do that,
Mhm.
So let's let's
But
clean
what
it up
great
together.
modeling. It's almost best that they do spill it, that you do
Yes.
yell, and then you do
And then
that
we
whole
learn.
thing. Right.
Yes, exactly. It's almost like this Mr. Rogers lesson at the end.
Yeah.
Like we needed to like have shit hit the fan first.
Yes.
You're like, okay,
I
this
work,
is where we're going to
I'm
work on.
sober, and so I work with a lot of sober women,
Yeah.
and a lot of them are moms, and guilt is a huge thing just based on their life experience.
Yes.
But I always tell people, I don't know how much kids learn from having shit just buttoned up, right?
Exactly.
Like probably less trauma, maybe
Yeah.
an easier road.
Yeah.
But watching the rupture and repair,
Yeah.
I truly believe teaches more.
I agree with you.
You know,
I totally agree
not
with you.
such an easy road.
Exactly.
But I mean, if we're really trying to raise people
yeah.
that are capable and have emotional regulation and all this stuff, like there's going to have to be a little rupture and repair.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
So,
yeah. You don't want it either way. You don't want rupture all the time, and you don't want it to
Correct.
be just like this easy, peasy, like, you know, literally non-eventful
right.
kind of setup. So yeah, that's life.
That's life. So what do you think modern parents are getting most wrong or overthinking right now?
I think that it's one second. Can I refer to my notes?
Yes, of course. She's prepared, people.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so I thought about this question. We are over optimizing childhood because
Tell me more. What does that mean?
it means there's a few different ways. We schedule it, so we're constantly like they need to take, you know, this many extracurriculars and this many academics and
Too much.
Yeah, it's too much. We curate it. Oftentimes it could come from something that we did in our own childhoods that we hope that our spawn inherit and want to continue. And third, we compare it. And that's social media, where we are constantly trying to keep up with the Joneses and look to what our neighbors are doing and do that. So I think those are the things that like we all have to work on. And what I've and my husband has helped with this, we're trying to cultivate is to give them pockets of time to be bored. That tackles the scheduling. Yes, you know, my kids do, they love baseball and softball, my daughter. And they do basketball. My daughter's definitely not a fan, but I'm like, finish the season. You know?
How old are they?
Yes, yeah. So the twins are 9, and my youngest is 7.5.
Okay. I heard somewhere it was pretty great about kids wanting to quit stuff. You can quit, but you can't quit on a bad day.
There you go.
So
there you go.
You know, I've used that with my son because he'll just be grumpy and he wants to quit. He does baseball and jiu-jitsu.
Nice.
But it's like if you're gonna quit, like have a wonderful day. You know.
Yes.
Get a home run and then you can quit.
And then you can
but don't bail out on the day where you did shitty.
Yeah, exactly. And you have a team and a coach that's like, you know, like I love team sports. I didn't really do many when I was younger. And I think there's so much to learn because when you are in the workforce, you know, you're going to be with a team and a boss that you didn't necessarily, you know, string together, and you're going to have to like create some harmony and some wins there.
But I don't even know where all this came from. Like I played team sports my whole life. I can't ever remember a time that I wanted to quit. Like
that's awesome.
Like, the snowflakes are
they're
just out here trying to quit everything
because they can't take the loss and the failure. And I think, you know, we
the
just
pressure,
need to
the stress, or the just the exuding effort.
Yes.
I mean, I would sprain my ankle in basketball and then like still try to play. Like, and it wasn't like I was trying to be a hero. It was just like the way it was. And I feel like most of the kids were like that.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't remember feeling like, you know, anybody was not performing that way.
Yes.
So it's like we can only blame our parenting, I would assume, and also just sort of the nature of the world in terms of I think there's no delayed gratification.
Yes.
Right? So like if you want chicken nuggets, you can have them in, I don't
Uber
know,
Eats
10
can make
minutes.
it in, yeah.
Right? If you want some, Amazon can be here by noon, which
Yeah.
is wild.
Crazy. The
So-
fact that a drone can, you know, like give you exactly what you were searching for in bed the night before.
Right.
Next
It's
day.
crazy.
It's wild.
So I think some of that contributes.
Yeah.
I like your idea of creating boredom.
Yes.
So tell me more about that, and how much do you push for that?
Yes. Yeah, I think free play is so essential, especially for the younger years. And we have a pocket of time on Saturdays when they don't have a game where they do that. So it's like usually from like 4 to 6.
Okay.
And that's the time where we actually have them, you know, take out a piece of notebook paper and make a list, or turn to a list that they wrote last weekend. What are things you can do that aren't involving screens? Because they have allocated screen time, and they do get 2 hours on the weekend. But it's like, you know, your PS5, Nintendo Switch time is, you know, at 6 o'clock. So like you're not gonna, you have to figure out what you're doing during this window. And they turn through the list, and it's like, you know, watch a tutorial on how to draw a Pokemon, or, you know, play Uno, or color, or, you know, like my daughter loves making furniture and like clothes for her little dolls in her dollhouse.
I love
Yeah,
that.
and she takes all the stuff that, like, old socks, old scrunchies, like random cloth that she can find, and she doesn't know how to sew yet, but she'll like staple or tie them with a yarn or string, or tape things together and make outfits for her dolls. So it's just using that imagination and creative thinking of like, what can I do to fill this time? And I have this room in front of me, and let me see what I can get into, you know? So that's like their free play. And even younger kids can have that. You just have to make sure you give them this like unstructured time. I did a whole series with Bright Horizons and a child development expert who joined me on why free play is just so instrumental in their brain development. And then I also had an author on. Her name is Dr. Allie Tickton. She wrote Play to Progress, and she came up with fun things that you could do to like infuse play into like chores. Even like you could have a relay race with the laundry, from like, you know, the hamper to the the laundry machine. There's different things you could do, and like just have them make up these games,
Just
you know,
be joyful.
Totally. I can't tell you how many times my cousins and I would play house and restaurant, and you know, going to the theater. Like we had these it's called a chunni, but it's like a veil that we women wear in India. We would make that like velvet ropes and be like, okay, so you're in the VIP section, and you know, we're gonna watch Home Alone 2, and you know, it was so
good.
fun. Like, so use, you know, that imagination, tap into that. That is evergreen, and you know, kids can still do that now.
You should check out, are you familiar with Lauren Majors?
No.
You should check her out on Instagram. I actually just interviewed her in Los Angeles. She has some amazing parent ideas, and she's created like a whole approach, like lifestyle approach to parenting, which is super cool.
I love
there
that.
are no video games involved. Like zero. But just really great positive stuff.
That's
well, I'm so grateful that you came today and that we had this opportunity. I'm just so excited to interview like-minded women who are really trying to give back, and I think the idea is to give other women the permission to let their hair down, right?
Yes,
because we're all out here doing our best.
Thank you, Keisha. I completely agree, and I think it's so fun to relate to each other on this level, and give each other that like camaraderie in this, because you're not alone. You're not alone. And when you have that cake for dinner, you want a friend to join and grab a fork, you know?
Absolutely.
That's what it's about.
Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Keisha. This was great. Thank you.